We are gearing up for one of the most important nights of the season for the SK Modifieds, the 7th annual TC13, part of First Responders Night here at the racetrack. All the weekly divisions are here as we are set for the home stretch of 2024.
Where has the season gone? And of course, when we're getting to the end, that's when the season gets the busiest. The SK Modifieds, they have their 40-lapper tomorrow night, as usual, with the TC13, which is such a fun event. A 13-lap sprint, 13-13 on the line in terms of money for the winner. And every lap, they are on the edge, using every inch of asphalt. Last year, it was Keith Rocco versus Michael Jarvis Jr., with Keith Rocco becoming the first repeat winner of the event. The year before, Mike Christopher Jr. versus David Arute in a great battle, with Noah Corner in that battle as well. So we'll see who comes out on top. The competition this year has been fierce, but last week we saw a new winner this year in the SK Modifieds, and a clutch win at that.
And the championship point leader finally gets to victory lane, and Andrew Moeller, and there's been a lot of people wondering, when is he going to get to victory lane? He's been consistent all year, but finally got that win.
People kept talking about him being the point leader and not winning a race this year. Enough. It's over with. It was a matter of time, and they've been fast all year. Moeller, it had been 30 starts for him in the SK Modified since his last win back in 2021. He did take a year off last season before coming back full-time for 24. And he put on a pretty good show last week, took the lead about the halfway point, and then just pulled away. Maybe Mike Christopher Jr. had something for him if there was a caution or so, but that's the way racing goes. There was no yellow at the end. Moeller gets a much-needed win. That's a huge load off his shoulders because he felt the pressure. He felt the doubters were trying to pounce on him, and he said, you know what? That's done with. I'm going to go to victory lane, and he got it done, expanding his point lead as a result.
And you mentioned Mike Christopher Jr. Been hot as of late, but I guess it doesn't matter when the guy in front of you in points is winning.
When you're over 30 points behind, you need the guy in front of you to have problems. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough. Moeller's finished top 10 in every race except one when he had that DNF. Christopher's had a couple bad nights this season, but he also has 7 top 2 finishes out of 15 features this season. That is a ridiculous ratio, and that just shows how good that 82 team has been since the start of the year. It's the most consistent I've seen them been. They have really hit it on all 8 cylinders, but they still need a little bit more, and that little bit more comes from Moeller struggling. That hasn't happened yet.
Let's talk about the late models, their longest event of the year, the Paradiso Insurance 50-lapper, wild race from start to finish, and a brand new winner in Napa Victory Lane.
And history being made in the result. Alexandra Fern gets her first late model victory, becomes the first lady to win a late model feature at Stafford, and that was a much-needed win. Ever since that team went full-time in the late models last year, they struggled more often than not, did not get the results they were looking for, but they kept pushing, and she had to beat Adam Gray to do it, one of the very best in the late models today.
On
and
3
of all
restarts.
Time. On 3 restarts. She lost the lead on the restart, got it back. On the white flag, a caution came out, she was ahead, and then going into 1, those two made contact twice, and she came out on top. That's a huge win in the 50-lapper, no less, the biggest late model event of the year. So we'll see if that 12 team can keep that going, keep that momentum rolling, because I tell you what, we're going to talk about Kevin Gambacorta, the championship leader, but 5th through 12th in the points is within 1 race of each other. So you got 7 drivers there that can fight for that 5th spot in the points, and Alex is one of them.
She has now won in the street stocks, the limited late models, and the late models. There's not a lot of drivers that can say they've done it, and only one driver has won the championship in all of them, in Kevin Gambacorta, who's running for another title this year in the late model.
And he didn't have the best run last week. We saw him running outside the top 10 for a while. He did salvage a 6th-place run, and Paul Vecchio Jr. had a rough night, got involved in 3 incidents, including one on the last lap, finishing outside the top 15. Gambacorta made the most of what was not a great car and still got a good finish. That's what you got to do sometimes. The late models are tough. They're physical. Sometimes surviving's half the battle, and those last few laps were really insane where you had to survive to get a good finish. Gambacorta did that, and he's got 4 more events to go if he wants to go back-to-back.
And for Fern Motorsports, 3 cars on the racetrack and 3 in the top 8.
Never happened before for that team to have 3 in the top 10, let alone top 8. Ryan Fern passed about 4 or 5 cars on the last lap, going 3 wide on the outside, and Josh Wood had a great run in the 51, finishing 8th. So a great night overall, a night to remember for them. But you know what? Stu always says his favorite win is the next one.
Which could come this Friday night, you never know. SK Light Modifieds, Tyler Chapman doing Tyler Chapman things, win 7 on the year.
Yeah, 7 wins. It's just amazing how that team has broken out. Are we surprised, though? I'm personally not, because we've seen how fast that 41 has been in the last 3 seasons, and they only get better year after year. but he had to hold off Josh Morrison there for about 4 or 5 laps. Morrison held his own on the outside on Tyler Chapman. It was a really good battle, a very clean battle. Chapman came out on top, extended his point lead, but you got to give a lot of kudos to Josh Morrison for putting on an amazing show. His second year in the SK Light Modifieds, that 35 team has come a long way since last year when they first started and struggled a lot. It's a huge boost of momentum for them. That's their second runner-up in the last 5 features. Chris Matthews, another podium finish. He's been really racking up the podiums in the last month and a half, but Tyler Chapman is still staying up front, and that point lead is so big, Matthews needs a lot of help with Chapman having trouble in 2 races to have a chance at the championship.
Just shy of 100 points between the top 2. Want to continue to talk about Morrison. 2 years ago, we were watching him on Monday nights right here on the mini mile on the front stretch. Last year, you mentioned all the struggles. He had a tough time getting through practice sessions by himself on the racetrack. It's amazing how far he has come.
But they never gave up despite all their struggles. We saw him crash twice in open practice. He had troubles in private tests. But once they finally got a grasp on the car, Josh himself driving it, and then in terms of the setup, that is a Chassis Pro car as well, they got it figured out now. And it wouldn't be a surprise to see them battle for the win before the season's over. And especially next year, I expect them to be up there consistently and battling top 5, top 10 every week. We'll see what they have in store, but Josh is really doing a good job.
Confidence can be everything, and I think Josh has plenty of it right now after the last month that he has had. In the limited late models, it was kind of a family affair at the front of the field. Devin Jensick battling with younger brother Connor.
Where were you, Ari? Come on, come to the track and make it a 1-2-3. But yeah, Connor Jensick led a lot of laps from the front row. Devin had the faster car, got by him in the second half of the race, gets a very important second win of the year, tightens that point battle between him and Matt Clement, and it's cool to see the Jensicks go 1-2. Not often do you see brothers or siblings in general go 1-2. A couple years ago, Matt Clement and Jay Clement went 1-2 in the limited late models. Now the Jensicks have done so. That's a great run for Connor because ever since he got his win earlier this year, they hadn't quite had the performance they were looking for. That's his first podium since that victory. Devin Jensick gets the victory, closes the gap. He needs more of that. Matt Clement was still up there running top 5. And this division, again, we'll say it over and over again until it's stuck in your head. It is a tough class where you can go 0 to 0 in just a week. Devin Jensick got spun the week before he won last Friday night. So it's so back and forth. The gap is less than 20 points, but Devin needs a little bit more if he wants a shot at that title.
16 points between the top 2, Matt Clement, Devin Jensick, Jeremy Lavoie, the 3-time champion, not too far back in third. And the field probably going to get a little bit stronger this Friday night.
Oh, yeah. Travis Hydar is making his debut in the limited late models. What a year he's had in the street stocks. We'll talk about the street stocks in a moment, but I'm very excited to see what he has in store. That car is a very good car. It's a championship-winning car that Alex Fern drove a couple years ago. We'll see what Hydar can do in that car. It wouldn't surprise me if he adapts very quickly. He's a heck of a wheel man. He's got great people behind him that know a lot about setting up race cars. It wouldn't be a surprise to see Hydar possibly break the division record by becoming the 12th different limited late model winner.
Wouldn't surprise me at all, and he'll have a couple of shots here at the end of 2024 to do just that. In the straight stocks, speaking of Travis Hydar, man, you either win or you end up behind the wall wrecked. And unfortunately, last week he was caught up in an early incident down in turn 1.
That's a huge blow for the championship for Hydar. Got caught up in that multi-car wreck, had nowhere to go. Didn't even hit that hard, but it was just enough to take him out of the race. He had to watch the rest of the feature from the infield. That's going to hurt a lot. Now Hydar really needs help in terms of trying to fight for the championship. He's over 40 points behind with 4 events to go. It'll be 3 after tomorrow night. He's going to need a lot of help if he wants to gain 10 to 12 points every Friday night on Tyler Trott and also gain on Travis Downey at the same time. Hydar is 4th in points. I think Lafayette's in front of him too, so he's got to hope Lafayette has troubles too. But Downey, what a clutch win for that 42 team. The week before he got penalized, didn't get a good finish as a result, comes through, gets a big victory, his 3rd win of the year, ties a career high, and closes in on Tyler Trott, who spun in turn 1 out of nowhere, just lost it on his own. That race had all types of twists in the championship battle. Trott finished 7th, lost some ground as a result. Downey, he's very much in it, 14 points behind. Week after week, he's got to stay up front, avoid trouble. But Tyler Trott, he still has a consistent top 5 car. He just cannot afford nights like last Friday.
And it's those mistakes that are going to let Travis Downey back into the championship picture. Right now, just 14 out.
It's going to be fun to see what these street stocks have in store for the last 4 features of the season, because anything can happen, and who knows, maybe both have trouble. Lafayette could sneak right in there and make it a 3-way battle.
He's also a multi-time winner this season. Still 4 drivers vying for this year's track championship in the street stocks. Let's talk about First Responders Night. It's going to be a fun night on the Midway. I know it's one of the kids' most favorite night of the year because of all the fire trucks and emergency vehicles that will be sprinkled throughout the property.
Fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, SWAT vehicles, and the kids get to go inside of them and check them out.
That's the fun part. Normally you don't want to see those trucks, but here on First Responders Night, it's pretty cool.
Kids love that stuff, so they're going to have a great time on the Midway checking those out before they roll out for their First Responders tribute on the front stretch before features begin. Look, when you're a kid, those type of things, those big vehicles, light-up vehicles with all those gadgets on the inside, like, that's what draws them in. So it's cool to have the kids come and check those out, but it's also really cool to pay tribute to the first responders who protect and serve this country day in and day out. They'll be on the front stretch with all their different vehicles while all the drivers line up here paying tribute to them. It's going to be a great night, a night of tribute and a night of fun on the track.
A tribute to Ted Christopher as well for the 5th time. The TC Safety Initiative will be awarded before the race program tomorrow night.
Yeah, a fire suit will be given to an SK Modified driver, and here's the deal. It's going to be a vote between all the full-time SK Modified drivers. Everyone's going to vote on a driver they think should get that new fire suit. So it's not like it's guaranteed to be a top driver to win it. It could be somebody mid-pack or further back, someone who's been around for 2 years, someone who's been around for 22 years. Anyone can win that fire suit. Depends on who votes for who.
And again, a big thanks to Quinn Christopher for her involvement in that program for a 5th consecutive year here at the racetrack. It's going to be a busy night. All 5 divisions in action. First Responders Night, the TC13 as well. We hope you can make it out to the racetrack as we continue into the month of September here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. All the action gets underway just after 6 o'clock. And if you can't be here, you can tune us in live on Flow Racing.